What? Wait a minute. Lila, where are you going?
To Hawaii.
To Hawaii? Where would she find that kind of money? At that moment, it finally hit me. To my surprise, the money I had set aside for my daughter's college admission fee was gone. What the heck are you doing, Jason?
I'm going to take care of my mother, so don't get in the way of that.
Well then, I'll bring back home some souvenirs.
With that, the two of them left the house, grinning. I murmured softly as I watched their backs. Don't think that your wife in the house will always be there. My name is Wendy. I am a 46-year-old housewife. I live with my husband Jason, my daughter Beth, and my mother-in-law Lila. Originally, the three of us, Jason, Beth, and I, lived together, but after my father-in-law passed away about 5 years ago, my husband forced Lila to come live at our house. I honestly did not want to live with Lila. I knew that Lila clearly did not like me. The first time I began to think that was when I first met her and greeted her before the wedding.
Oh my, you are kind of a boring person, aren't you? I think you and Jason are not a good match.
I remember not being able to close my mouth since I was really surprised when she suddenly said such a thing to me. I was glad that my father-in-law scolded Lila then and apologized to me about it quickly, but I thought that she was a very insane person to say such a thing to me on when we just met.
I'm sorry my mother said such a terrible thing to you. Please, don't take it to heart.
My husband told me that later, but I wish he was the one who had warned Lila at that time. I remember being a little worried that Jason could not be strong enough to directly confront his own mother. But I still loved him, so I married him, and I knew I wouldn't be living with Lila or anything like that, at least back then. However, after I started living with my husband, I learned an unpleasant fact that I had not expected at all. That is that my husband was an overbearing husband.
Since we got married, I want you to quit your job.
What? You told me I could work even after we got married.
I may have said so at first, but I've changed my mind. Quit your work immediately and focus entirely being a housewife.
No way. You can't just say that out of the blue. Besides, I have to tell the company at least a month in advance to quit, you know.
Then you better definitely quit by the end of this month.
My husband said that and gave me no choice but to quit my work. In the end, I quit the company after a month and became a full-time housewife. From then on, I began to distrust my husband bit by bit. I wondered if he would ever protect me if something ever happened. It was during this time that I found out that I was pregnant. When I told my husband that I was pregnant, he was very happy.
You did a great job, Wendy.
I was very happy to hear him compliment me like that. After that, he became very kind to me and began to treat me really well.
Are you okay? Wendy, don't take it too hard. If it gets difficult, we can order some food, okay? Both you and the baby needs to be healthy.
I was really happy that he said that to me when I was suffering from my morning sickness. And only when I was pregnant, Lila was also kind and treating me well.
Wendy, is there anything I can help you with? I'll go shopping or something instead of you.
Oh, thank you, Lila. That would be a great help. Lila had always been a bully to me. Every time I saw her since the beginning of our marriage. But only during the pregnancy, she was kind to me as if she had changed her mind. But when the delivery date was approaching, an unpleasant incident happened again.
So, did you find out the gender of the baby?
My mother-in-law, my husband, and I were having a relaxing cup of tea when she asked me that question. Yes, the doctor told me that we're having a baby girl. As I said this while rubbing my belly, I felt the air freeze. Sensing something was wrong, I looked at my husband and Lila. They both slowly closed and opened their eyes and sighed.
I knew it. You really are a useless woman.
Excuse me?
Give us back the time we spent being so nice to you.
Wait, what do you mean?
Normally, it's a wife's duty to have a boy first and reassure her husband's family about leaving an heir, you know?
Huh? What are you going to do if my husband and I lose our family line here?
No way. The moment my husband and mother-in-law found out that we're having a baby girl, they completely changed their attitude 180 degrees. From then on, no matter how sick I was, they never cared about me and the baby at all.
Why isn't dinner ready?
I'm sorry, I'm not feeling very well.
You do know that you can't get sick just because you're pregnant, right? Don't you dare slack off.
Yelling at me like that, my husband went back to my parents-in-law's house for dinner. I was so worried because I was left alone all the time even though I wasn't at my best and I wasn't feeling well at all. I was also worried about what would happen after our daughter was born. I wondered if Jason would treat my daughter with disrespect. While I had these worries and fears in my mind, I finally gave birth to my daughter. When my daughter was born, my husband and Lila both said she was adorable and happily held her in their arms. So, I was relieved to see that. For the time being, it seemed that they would take good care of my daughter. In fact, my husband loves our daughter so much that he now leaves work early and comes home early just so he could spend more time with her. Thanks to my husband taking care of our daughter, I was able to take a bath at night and cook a few side dishes for the coming week. But his attitude towards me remained the same.
Are you actually taking good care of Beth during the day? Are you feeding her milk properly?
Yes, of course. Taking good care of her.
If anything happens to Beth, I won't forgive you.
My husband glares at me as he says this. Is this the way a husband should look at his own wife? If this scene was from a comic, sparks would be flying to show how angry he looked. And to make matters worse, Lila also came to our house frequently.
I've come to see you, little Beth. Wendy, please prepare tea and sweets right away.
Lila would always come over unannounced, not caring if I was doing the housework or not. I had just finally put my daughter to bed and was quietly cleaning up when Lila took the liberty of picking her up and waking her up even though she was sound asleep. Then my daughter started to wail and cry.
Hey, Wendy! Beth is crying!
Thinking that she was the one who made her cry, I interrupted my cleaning to take care of my daughter. I glanced at Lila, who was just gracefully eating tea cakes at the dining table. I was fed up with Lila and my husband being so selfish and treating me so horribly. Then time passed. My daughter turned 3 and started kindergarten, so I decided to go to work part-time. I thought it would be better to save money for my daughter's tuition in the future. However, when I told my husband that I was going to work part-time, he opposed to that idea.
You complain that I don't make enough money? What a terrible wife you are.
That's not what I meant. I just want to work so that Beth can get a good education without worrying about money. When I said I was going to work part-time for our daughter, my husband was giving it a thought.
Well, if it's for Beth's sake, I guess it can't be helped. But don't ever cut corners on the housework, understood?
I understand, I promise. And so I was able to work part-time.
Why are you working even though you're the housewife? Normally, a housewife is supposed to support the family, right?
Lila complained that way, but I didn't care what she said and worked. I was glad I started working part-time, both mentally and financially, because I saw Lila less often, I was less stressed, and I was also able to reconnect with the society again. Conversing with people at work made me feel better, as I learned that there were other people who were also struggling with issues with their in-laws or with their own partners. And so I spent my life balancing part-time work and housework. Time passed by in a flash, and my daughter became a middle school student. However, my father-in-law passed away around this time, and my husband brought Lila back home without discussing to me about it, because he felt sorry for her being alone. From then on, my difficult days with Lila began.
Hey, Wendy! I prefer to eat bread in the morning. And fried eggs. Make sure the yolk is well cooked, all right?
I greeted the morning with Lila's yelling voice. Lila had always bullied me, even 10-some years after I got married to Jason. Until now, I could put up with it because we lived apart, but now that we are living together, there is no escape. It was really difficult for me mentally. Then, in the midst of all this, my daughter started to realize what was happening and began to take my side.
Grandma, why are you so hard on Mom? What? No, I'm trying to educate your mom to be a proper wife as her mother-in-law. But it doesn't even seem or look like you're doing that. You look like you're enjoying tormenting Mom. Don't make my mom suffer. What? No way, I'm not doing that.
Lila flinched when my daughter spoke harshly to her like that. After that, Lila stopped picking on me in front of my daughter. When it was just the two of us, she would still pick on me, but I would talk to my daughter about it when it became too much, and Beth would get mad at Lila later on. Lila would argue back right away whenever I say something to her, but I guess she is still weak against her granddaughter. Lila was speechless and didn't know what to say whenever Beth said things to her. I felt much better knowing that my daughter was on my side. But then, a few years later, since she got used to it, Lila began to talk back to my daughter as expected, after Beth had been angry with her many times. She then started trying to get Jason on her side by telling him about it. So my husband scolded my daughter and became angry with me, saying,
"What kind of discipline did you even give Beth?"
My daughter argued against my husband, who was taking my mother-in-law's side, and so it was like Lila and Jason versus Beth and me was formed in our family. While the atmosphere in the house continued to be bad, I could not go through with a divorce so easily, considering that my daughter was about to take an entrance exam and go to college. But then something happened that made me lose my patience. It was the day of my daughter's high school graduation ceremony. I thought that at least today we would celebrate her graduation together as a family without any arguments. However, as I was getting ready to leave in the morning, I heard the sound of shoes being put on, and I rushed to the front door. Then I saw Lila about to leave the house with a large suitcase.
Huh?
Wait a minute, Lila, where are you going?
To Hawaii, of course.
To Hawaii? What do you mean?
My son and I are going on a trip to Hawaii.
Excuse me? What are you talking about? Beth's graduation ceremony is coming up. You do know that, right?
Ha! What's the fun in attending that cocky little girl's graduation ceremony? I'll choose to go to a fun trip with my son who loves me.
No way. As I froze in surprise at what Lila was saying, my husband came up behind me carrying a suitcase. Wait, are you seriously going on a trip? I've never heard of any parent not going to their own son or daughter's graduation ceremony.
Oh, shut up. Since you're gonna go anyways, I don't have to go, do I? I'm going to enjoy my trip to Hawaii with my mom starting today.
I can't believe Jason's leaving his own daughter to go on a trip. And I have something else on my mind. Where would they even find that kind of money to Hawaii? My husband is actually not good at saving money and tends to spend money away. So much so that I do my best to make ends meet. Therefore, I did not know where the money came from. At that moment, something came across my mind. I quickly checked the bank book. You're joking, right? To my surprise, the money I had set aside for my daughter's college admission had disappeared. What is the meaning of this, Jason? Could it be that you are using this money to go on a trip with your mother?
Yeah, because this is my money, right? I'm going to take care of my own mother. So, don't get in the way of that.
What the hell are you talking about? This is the money I worked part-time to save for my daughter. The amount you withdrew is equivalent to Beth's college admission fee.
It doesn't matter though, right? I mean, there's still lots of money in the bank book.
My husband then began to put on his shoes. I really can't believe it. What on earth is this man even thinking?
Well then, we'll bring back some souvenirs.
With that, the two of them left the house with a grin on their faces. I looked at their backs and murmured softly, "Don't think that your wife in the house will always be there." I sighed and hugged my daughter, who was looking at me all concerned.
Mom, does that mean that I can't go to college?
No, don't worry. I'll make sure you'll attend the college you worked so hard to get into. Saying this to my daughter, we attended her graduation ceremony. Then, when we got home, I thought of a plan and decided to implement it. And the plan was to sell the house. Actually, the house we are living in now was bought by my father.
Since you two got married and will have a baby soon, Jason wouldn't be making that much money yet, so I'll buy a house for your family, honey.
Saying that, my father gave us the house as a gift. I am sure my husband forgot about those old days and thought it was the house he'd bought for us. So I immediately contacted my father and asked him to sell the house since the house was still under his name. Fortunately, a buyer was quickly found and I began preparing to move out with my daughter. As for my husband and Lila's belongings, I explained the situation and had them sent to my brother-in-law's house. My brother-in-law apologized to me, saying,
"I'm really sorry for the trouble my brother and my mother have caused you."
I am sure my brother-in-law must have had a hard time when he lived with those two as well. After we finished removing all of our belongings, my daughter and I decided to live temporarily at my parents' house for now. Then I received a call from my husband and Lila, who had returned from Hawaii.
"Oh, hey, what's going on? Why can't we get into the house?"
"Oh, that's because we sold the house. Since it's not ours anymore, we changed the locks right away."
"Huh? What do you mean? Why would you sell my house for?"
"I knew it. You did forget. That house is in my father's name, you know that, right?"
"What?"
"You and Lila crossed the line you shouldn't have crossed. So I won't tolerate you both anymore. There is no place for you and your mother in that house, and I'm divorcing you."
Divorce? Now wait a minute. What do you think you're doing?
"I'm doing whatever I think is right for my daughter and I. And I'm still being tormented by you people. Well, I guess from now on you guys might be in big trouble since you don't have your housekeeper anymore."
Oh no. I mean, where's our stuff then?
"I explained the situation to your brother and sent your stuffs at his place."
What the? What are you doing, Wendy?
"Huh?"
That guy and I don't get along, you know that.
"Yeah, I know that very well. But there's nowhere else where I could send your things, so it can't be helped. Anyway, I won't forgive you guys anymore. Let's talk about divorce through my lawyer." With that, I hung up the phone. I could hear Lila screaming, but I hung up before she could take over the phone and block the calls from them. I then demanded a divorce from my husband through my lawyer. My husband was reluctant until the end, but finally agreed. By the way, it seems that my brother-in-law had been mistreated by Lila and my husband, so he sold off their belongings one after another in order to get back to them. And he used the money to travel overseas. Even though Lila and my husband wanted to collect the rest of their belongings, they could not do so because my brother-in-law was gone traveling overseas. And since they have no savings at all, they were having trouble getting furniture and appliances right away, even if they rented a new room. Lila had been pushing me to do all the housework when we used to live together. And moreover, since she's getting older and can no longer move as much as she would like, my ex-husband is now forced to do the housework while working. And on top of that, he has to take Lila to the hospital. I think it's really nice that Jason is now paying the price for all the things he has been pushing me to do. Meanwhile, I have been offered a job as an office clerk at a company owned by a friend of my father's. I now have a steady income and I am able to pay for my daughter's college tuition. I will continue to live vibrantly as a single mother while taking care of my daughter and my parents. The combination of an overbearing husband and a mother-in-law who believes the wife is the worst. I think Wendy has endured well in such a family. I am glad that her daughter grew up to be a good girl. I hope Wendy and her daughter Beth continue to get along well with each other and cooperate with each other in various ways and live happily ever after. Thank you for watching to the end. Please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you in the next video.